everyone, I'm TheGamingBeaver and welcome to my little nightmares video sort of theory, because if you're anything like me and you have played the game or watched a let's play, maybe even mine, the story is left somewhat, let's just say it's not explained whatsoever, and it's sort of left up to you, the viewer, as to interpret all of these situations and everything that goes on. And because it's so vague, I thought I would put together a little theory video, because so far of recording this, it is the second day of it being released, and so far nothing has surfaced, nothing at all. So I thought we'd put together this little theory video, and sort of we can have talk in the comments, tell me what you think has happened. So let's get on with it. So this is the general story as it goes. You are 6, a young 9-year-old girl who's been left in a prison, it seems to be, and you've got to work out everything that's going on in the world around you. You find yourself in a very industrialized, dark, grimy, gringy looking area. Before you know it, you find yourself in a nursery where there's lots of kiddies, or it seems to be like a playroom. And so it appears to be some sort of nursery where the kids are brought up, and from there you enter a kitchen, then you enter the food hall, you realize you're on this huge boat, and finally there's a climactic battle against what seems to be the owner, this geisha girl, which you end up taking out, acquiring her power, and then leaving the Maw, as it's called. That's what this entire ship is called. It's called the Maw, or Mayor. I'm sorry, I say it weird because I'm English, I don't know. And that's pretty much it. You just go on a linear path, sometimes collect collectibles or hug gnomes, which are these little weird creatures, and everything's left to your imagination to interpret. So that's what this video is going to be about. Okay, let's start with theory number 1, that the geisha is your mother. Now, we already know that this geisha is incredibly, what seems to be she's incredibly vain. She smashes all the mirrors, so she can't see a reflection, possibly. Again, this is all theorized. There's literally no dialogue within this entire game. And from this, we can gather that she's obviously not happy with the way she looks. And this is where it gets interesting, because I don't know how really close this... I mean, again, this is a theory, but some people have speculated that you are her child, and that you are beautiful. And she can't handle that. So when she sees how pretty you are, she actually sends you away, or sends you to prison, basically. And that's pretty much the whole head and tail of it. I mean, there's not really much to go. To give a bit more backstory, it seems like this geisha is able to suck a life force out of creatures or beings. And this whole food place, this whole restaurant seems to be a front so she can fatten up the customers and then take their life force. And the interesting thing here is, why would she want to fatten them up? I'm sure it doesn't make a difference how much life force you have, depending on how fat you are. So this is why I think it could be like a final meal sort of scenario. So these are maybe prisoners. They know that they are going to die, possibly. That's why they're stuffing their faces up to the gunnels. It could be that they're just greedy, but we never see her actually take any souls. It's only until the end that we ourselves, playing as 6, actually end up taking their souls. And this plays into another theory, which is hunger. Hunger plays a big part in this game. Throughout the game, you start by eating a little bit of bread, then you move on to a bit of meat, to a rat, to one of the gnomes, and then finally you eat the geisha. But then after that, you're still not satisfied. So you go from eating the bread, meat, flesh, and then souls of people. And the reason why this mother and daughter thing might work is the fact that at the very end, after you wait for the credits, you see 6 outside of this, at the top of the Maw. If you look at the concept art that I think that's been floating around the internet for a long time, you can see that the top of the Maw, which is this huge ship, which looks like a whale, has a chimney at the top, and it seems to be that this place surfaces and sinks depending on if there's customers. So at the end, when the customers are in and the boat's left, this whole place sinks back down. Now at the end of the credits, you see her at the top. Obviously this place is back under, and just as it fades to black, you hear a ship's horn, which could be the next lot of customers coming in, or prisoners, or whatever you want to call them. So this whole place may lift back up again, and then you are basically replace the geisha as head of this whole area. Possibly, it could be even that you just want to escape. Now we're going to get into my sort of theory, as the fact that you have been sent here for a purpose, and whoever sent you knows that you are going to go along this path, you're going to do what you do, which is eat and just get more and more hungry, and eventually kill the owner of this establishment, the geisha. Maybe whoever sent you is the good guy, possibly. Now, why I think this is the case is that when you first start, you end up with a vision of this geisha. It could be that you've been brainwashed and that your one goal is to get to this person and kill them. When you wake up in the suitcase, there are 2 photos that are taped in it. It's almost impossible to get a good quality visual of what these pictures are. I have indeed went back to play the game, and even squint, I just can't make out what they are. It seems to be maybe on the right, there's a character running from something. On the left, it's just too far away to make out, unfortunately. And at the very end of the game, when you hear that boat, that could be whoever sent you to this place picking you back up. Now, I want to get on the subject of this geisha because she's a very interesting character. You don't see her kill or eat anything, which is really strange to me. When the customers come in, you see her looking at them. When you enter the geisha's quarters, or the ladies' quarters as the game calls it, you see lots of photos on the wall. And one in specific that is always sort of... I've wanted to know the reason why. It seems like there's some sort of portrait of a family. Now, there are 5 characters in that photo. One in the middle, or the picture, is the geisha. I'm guessing. It has to be. And there's 2 of the left and 2 on the right of her, which are blacked out. Now, I was thinking it's possible that 2 could be the chefs, 1 could be the kidnapper, which I didn't actually talk about. It seems like when you go through the nursery, these kids are kept, you know, they're fed, they're watered, they even have a playroom. And then when they get to a certain size, this kidnapper creature comes round, steals them, and then sends them away to the kitchen. Basically get them chopped up and turned into meals. Back onto the geisha. Through whatever way, she ended up having this power. And it could be possible that she ended up turning her sisters that she was jealous of into these creatures. And they ended up becoming what you see in the game, which is the chefs and the weird kidnapper. And maybe the reason why she's kidnapping the children is because she doesn't want anybody else to be prettier than herself, even though she sees herself as flawed. But she can't stand the thought of anybody else being prettier than her. And that might be why we see her watching all of these fat people come in, because she takes pleasure out of seeing how disgusting everybody else is in comparison to her. There are other photos or portraits of people that are covered up by the geisha. I would go into more detail with these. However, the one picture that seems to be covered up on another part of the wall isn't covered up. So unless these 2 are twins or they were wearing the same clothes, it seems like maybe a continuity error on the game side, on the developer side. Because there is one picture found nowhere else in the game except for the geisha's boudoir. And that is this very sad yet pretty picture of a young girl. Now, this could be the geisha herself, or it could even be 6. There is other pictures of what appear to be very ugly babies. I mean, that's what I'm getting from it anyway. And that could be 6. Maybe the whole reason why she's sent away is because the geisha can't stand one of her own children being ugly. Calling back to the other theory, if the geisha is 6's mother, then where's the father? Good question. But I think I might have an answer. When you first start the game, I know I'm coming up with all the answers. When you first start the game, you see a person that's hung themselves. And you don't see that ever again. This person's got very long legs. And in fact, if you go replay the game and you tilt the camera up, you can see this person looks very normal. You can only see from about the waist, but they're wearing trousers, shoes, their hands look normal. And on the floor is a letter. Either this letter caused this person to commit suicide, or they had unfinished business and expected themselves to be found and have this letter read. Another thing to take note of is the eye on the door. There's a lot of eye references and visuals inside this game, on doors, on walls, even things watching you. And the eye could be a meaning that there's always somebody watching, or it could have something to do with beauty, again tying into the geisha's vanity with herself and with everybody else. Not too long after you find this person, you find a security room, which can view all the cameras from the kitchen to the prison to the gnomes to even to the geisha herself. And maybe if this is your father, is it possible that this person, or your father, was co-owning this whole place? Now, I think that person could be your father, and the geisha, the mother, sent him also to prison, or, you know, into some confinement, locked him away, and he couldn't stand what she had turned into and ended up taking his own life. Again, just a theory, and this game gives you so little to work with that anything could be a theory. The gnomes aren't even touched upon, which is really, really strange. Like, maybe they're her past children, who knows? There's also speculation that these could be the original inhabitants of the moor. But this whole, the moor, the ship, is vast. We've got prisons, kitchens, some even like living quarters in there as well as, you know, a nursery. So it's possible this mall place could be even bigger than just a restaurant. What could be below? I mean, the whole thing is rocking, and it could extend vastly down underneath the ocean into other places we haven't even seen yet, which is why we need to know more from the source. We need a sequel or some sort of DLC to piece together all these parts we've got. But one thing I did stumble upon that sort of baffled me and may fit into the family portrait, because you've got the geisha, you've got the 2 chefs, and the kidnapper. There is one missing. That could be the father. The father decided to take his own life, but the one that's missing could be this creature that was actually taken out of the game. When Little Nightmares went to Gamescom in 2016, they had their chefs dressing up in costumes, the ones that I saw that I fought as a T-Rex with at EGX. But when they went there was another costume that wasn't used, and that's this weird like it's like a bellboy. It's got a melted face, all candle dripping, red outfit, but for some odd reason this thing wasn't entered into the game, and they went to a pretty big effort to make this entire costume for it only to be completely dismissed or unused in the final game. Now, one of the unanswered questions, and yes, there is quite a few in this game, when you're in the restaurant stage, you end up getting caught in the bathroom, and the only way to escape it is to smash a mirror and climb out. But this room has a chair, as if somebody's been sat there and has been watching the guests go to the toilet or the lavatory for some strange reason. Now, Little Nightmares uploaded a video with this character in it, and he was behind a glass, exactly like we see in the game. Is it possible that when you smash that glass, you could see that character or that creature behind, and maybe there was supposed to be even more? This could possibly be the hanging man, not your father, but the bellboy downstairs really early on in the game. Now, I would shoot that down straight away, as it is not wearing anything red and seems to be a relatively normal person. However, there are a few instances that show that these creatures, as the chefs, are not what they seem. Occasionally in their animations, they will lift up their heads and scratch underneath, as if they're wearing a mask. So it could be quite possible that this bellboy took off his costume and then hung himself. But for whatever reason, this creature was taken out of the game, and this is the only relation we've got to link this scene and that creature. Six is an interesting character, because in some of the concept art, you see her help out with the restaurant. You see her clean this weird monstrosity in a bath, which would explain why she's wearing a yellow raincoat. Because it's waterproof. It's a cagoule, as some people would call it. So it's possible that she used to work at this place. Now, that is all concept art. It may not have anything to do with how the final game looks and how it turned out. It could just be how the character came about to give her this thing that stood out, and that maybe she had some sort of backstory. It could all have been canned, but at one point in time, this could have been her backstory. So this is really on the fly, and I just kind of wanted to get my thoughts out there, because I've been racking my brains for ages. This is the sort of game that doesn't leave you. It's sort of sticks with you until you have the answers. It sort of eats you alive. So if you have any theories on what you think's going on, maybe the potential backstory or what the characters' backgrounds are, leave it in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And until next time, I'll see you later.